Hi, I'm Kirsty Miles, a member of the BalletBoyz team, and this is a podcast series about Still Pointless, our 25th anniversary show. I'll be talking to the choreographers, artistic directors, and dancers behind the production. We have our 25th anniversary show coming up for BalletBoyz, and it's mainly a retrospective showing all the best moments of past BalletBoyz shows. But Michael and Billy, our artistic directors, don't just want to look back. They also want new work to be involved and to be looking forwards. And that's where you come in. So you've been commissioned to create a new piece. Can you tell me about that piece?
Yeah, absolutely. The piece is called Motor Cortex. It is a sort of mix of two ideas, one being the splitting of cells, so mitosis of one turning into two turning into four, etc., until mutations begin to happen with each sort of permutation. And I've paired that with an idea of something to do with the time loop. So rather than the cell splitting kind of equally, in a way, we witness a person experience something, and then we see them witness their own experience of that. So them kind of coming back round full circle, and that kind of meeting of your past self being that sort of splitting. And then similarly when we go to four, it's kind of different variations and versions of the same kind of events, I guess, but viewed through different lenses.
Yeah.
And then we go into the second half of the piece, which is kind of a memory of the first half from the perspective of the most mutated version, or the most mutated cell, looking back at himself, I suppose.
Right, I see. So do you think, because there's a lot of concept to it, is it important for you that the audience understands that, or are you using that kind of in your own mind to create it, but for an audience you just want them to kind of experience? What's your...
Yeah, I more want the audience to connect to the sort of universal themes of it, I suppose, as opposed to worrying specifically about the narrative. I want to allow enough space, but I think in order to allow space and to have a framework for people to hang their own interpretation on, I think I need to have quite a specific idea of what it is, even whether or not I give that to the audience,
right?
In the description or the blurb or whatever. So I think we're in a place in the process that we've got the structure of the piece. We sort of know the pacing of it and what it kind of is physically. So now it's in a place of dramaturgically and framing wise, what information do we give the dancers? What can I kind of give to them that helps them embody it fully, while also allowing them to find their own story within it? And then similarly starting to think about, okay, how am I going to describe this in, for instance, the program? What do I want to leave open, and what do I want to specify and give people a frame of reference to experience something that is inherently quite abstract?
Yeah. Do you usually go for this kind of thing, or have you ever done something that is really narrative based, or is this kind of your usual approach?
It's a mix. Yeah. This is probably more on the abstract side of what I would do. I had a solo work that I did at the beginning of this year. It's called Interchange, which was about a man who has died, and he finds himself in the Interchange train station in the afterlife. And it's about his process of going through the sort of checked baggage and security screenings in order to move forwards into his next life. So that there was something really nice to work with that. I'd sort of decided on what this story was, and because it's so specific and I want to try and build that world, it gives me a lot of things to hold on to, but then equally within that it somehow becomes much broader in what I can explore and say with it.
How did you get the idea? Where did that come from?
I settled on these two ideas because of two films that I'm a big fan of. One is Tenet, Christopher Nolan film, and the other is Annihilation, which is, I think, Alex Garland. Two of my sort of favourite directors / writers. Annihilation is a kind of about this area of this shimmer where this asteroid has hit, and it's this kind of otherworldly refraction and mutation of DNA within a confined space. And then tenet is about time flowing both forwards and backwards and all of the possible complications of that. Physically, I was very inspired by some of the fight scenes in tenet because they have this incredible idea of one person moving forwards through time who is in combat with someone who is moving backwards through time. So this half reversed, half forwards fight. It's just, I don't know, there's a lot of like sort of fruit for inspiration in that for me as well, as I come from I did a lot of martial arts when I was growing up. So I did jiu-jitsu for a long time and then picked up some aikido as well, which has kind of permeated within a lot of what I do in terms of my movement practice, but then equally when I'm putting especially partner work on other people, I tend to default to something that's quite combative, I guess.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And yeah, so is it just the combative side that's come through from the jiu-jitsu, or is it other aspects as well, do you think?
Absolutely other aspects. I think mainly like the number one thing is softness, sort of yielding and adapting to force and using weight as opposed to using strength. I think most of the time.
Is that usually how your ideas come about, like maybe looking at a film, or like are you always looking for inspiration? How does it work?
Yeah, I think inspiration comes from any number of things. I think film specifically is something that I connect to visually and artistically and like pacing wise, is a big inspiration. But equally, there's pieces that I've created that were based around a song, but not necessarily making it to the song, but something about what a song is kind of saying, or like there's a track called "Come Down to Us" by Burial that I didn't end up using in a piece of mine called Dead End Resurrection, but there was something about that song, something about the samples and where these kind of snippets of text and these things that these little moments that kind of come in passing, that it's not linear, it's not narrative at all, but there's something that it kind of gets at, that I want to recreate that sensation, or like say something that feels like that, but through its sort of different medium.
Yeah. So do you ever panic and think, oh my gosh, I don't have any ideas, or do you never feel like that?
I have definitely been in a place where I have no ideas.
Yeah.
100%. But I think I've been in that place and I've come through that place enough times that I now don't panic when I get there.
Yeah.
I think when you're confronted with sort of having no idea what you're doing, I think it's about slowing down a little bit and not trying to do, but trying to kind of actually work with what's in front of you.
Yeah.
And there's always things to be done, and there's always ways that you can pragmatically kind of push through a process, even when inspiration isn't necessarily striking. If you sort of sit and do nothing, you're not going to necessarily get inspired to do anything. It's only when you actually just start putting one foot in front of the other. For instance, in the solo work that I did, Interchange, I spent a long week on my own in the studio and sort of felt like I came out with less than I went in with at first, if that was even possible. But, okay, spend a little bit of time scripting. That's not really working. Okay, I'll spend a little bit of time on the music. Okay, I'll spend some time improvising. I'll like kind of dotting around instead of allowing myself to get stuck on one thing. And then eventually this kind of like slow build starts to spiral into something, and then you actually you let go of it for a bit and you come back and you sort of go, okay, I've got much more than I thought or felt that I did at the time. But it's being sensitive to that, I think, to overcome that.
And I feel like, because we watched a run through of your piece last night, there's a lot of like formations. It's kind of like good, like at a distance kind of thing as well. So I wonder, like, do you think that's how you envisioned it? You kind of envisioned it on a stage? Yeah,
definitely. I think lighting is a big part of my work. I'm really excited to work with Andrew Ellis. Again, I know him through BalletBoyz, but we've worked together on 3 of my resolution pieces that I've sort of done independently. And he really gets what it is that I'm sort of aiming for. And, it comes with the familiarity of working together. But lighting plays a huge part in what I envision. Like, similarly to what I was saying about, like, maybe it comes from a song or a film or this, or sometimes just the idea of a lighting state, or like people emerging from the back through the fog lit in a certain color, or can play a really big part in shaping. Again, it's just grasping these small images and these little anchor points that kind of go, okay, that's something that I don't know why that is going to be a thing, but I'm going to force myself to figure that out. So,
Yeah.
And also we're hoping to sort of accentuate this with costume. We have a lot of like moments of symmetry, but moments of sort of breaking that and shifting and sort of becoming like warping and finding these like parallels that aren't necessarily the same. But it's amazing to have the chance to work with a group like eight bodies. Is infinitely more possibilities than one or two, right? And especially with the idea of this kind of splitting and repeating, the more that you split and repeat, the more possibilities you gradually have. So it's deciding how to work with that, and again restricting a little bit, because if there's too much happening, actually I don't think it's going to read as well. So really using those moments of clarity and calmness and stillness in and amongst that chaos. It's nice.
Yeah, and on that point of working with that group of 8 dancers, how have you found it with like this specific group of like BalletBoyz dancers?
It's amazing. Like I'm lucky to have close friendships with everyone, actually, some through BalletBoyz, but others through other projects as well, prior to everyone coming together in the room. So really it's a dream group for me. Like I wouldn't have been able to pick anyone better if I were to pick like my own company, I guess.
The music for this is really interesting. You've been working with Berwyn Cooper.
Indeed, yeah.
Can you tell me about him and how you know him?
So Berwyn, or Bez as I know him, he is a fantastic composer. We trained together at Rambert, and then sort of we became friends, but then actually we realised that we were both really interested in at that point composition and music production and kind of all of that entire world, which we hadn't really explored. Like we had an interest in it, but neither of us were particularly fluent in it at that point. So yeah, just over the last however many years, we've sort of been on a parallel journey of learning and practicing, and we make a lot of music together. We sort of send each other a lot of stuff and collaborate in many different ways. Also, he's just his creative mind is something to behold, which I feel like he's a really good person to have, because he's going to really dig into the piece and he's going to challenge my ideas. He's going to bring different ideas of the work as a whole, rather than just kind of making some nice music for it and going, okay, there you go. It's like he wants to know and he wants to understand and is willing to bring a lot of the why.
Has he been in the studio like making it as with the rehearsals? Or, right.
Yeah, so the music and the movement is in a very like fluid place, I guess. We know the structure and we know what's happening sort of roughly when, but in terms of figuring out specific cues, because most of the work isn't on counts, so figuring out these little cues and these moments that I will respond to choreographically, but then he will see other things in the space that maybe people are doing, whether I've told them to do something, or whether it's an idea that they're bringing on their own. He will sort of see those and respond to it.
I can't believe you do music as well. Like, do you compose for your own dance as well?
Yeah.
And how, like, I guess why have you taken on that challenge? Because you could just say, I want someone else to do it. So why do you do that?
I feel like oftentimes when I'm creating work, the music is so tied to the process of making the music is tied to the process of making the work for me. So how I feel like I've learned more about creation and I guess choreography from learning music than I have from actually dancing. In terms of, I mean, I guess there's parallels between any creative process, but to really delve into like two separate practices, I think is really important, because I see parallels from okay, if I'm making a track, for instance, I might work on a sound, I'll design a pattern, and then I will kind of build a little bit of stuff around it, and then that kind of becomes like a first chunk of stuff. And often that first thing that you make becomes the most fully fledged form that it's going to be, and then actually it becomes a process of reversing and sort of stripping away, almost to justify getting to that fully fledged point. With music, that's a very linear, like, not linear, but like you view it linearly. You sort of can really see these like little audio clips and these chunks and these things, and like
layers
and you sort of see it become this tangible thing in front of you. Dance is a lot more intangible in a lot of ways. Obviously, we can sort of video stuff and look at it like that, but actually, when you're not in the space, it doesn't exist, except for sort of in your head.
Yeah.
And it can be a lot more, just a little bit hard to grasp on, I guess, of like, okay, maybe this is set, maybe it's not. Like, so learning like, okay, I'm just going to set something. Even if I don't fully stand behind it, I don't fully like it, and I'm going to see how we can pull different threads out of that. And you'll make something, you'll layer something, you'll kind of create like a loop or something. It's like a fully fledged version of an idea. And often instead of building more onwards from that, it's about building backwards from that and pulling out these threads and these little kind of, how can we hint at an idea before we hear it in its full form, and not giving everything away too fast. And I think the same applies for how I would create a work. Actually, some of the first material that we tend to make in any kind of creation, or like the first idea that I tend to have physically, becomes the kind of core like destination. Like, we know, if I know where we're going, then let's start to think about how we can build our way up to that.
And I guess my final question is, I mean, it's kind of a big question. Not every dancer wants to be a choreographer.
Yeah.
What do you think it is about you or about choreography that like draws you to it, that makes you want to not just be a dancer, but to make dance as well?
I think my brain is wired in a way that I want to create stuff. I've had the opportunity to dance in loads of amazing work, which I'm really grateful for, and I hope to continue to do that. But actually, my resting brain is about creating stuff, and I just constantly have ideas for things that I want to do, and creating work dance-wise, which is sort of the medium that I think I find the most in, for myself, is just the outlet for that. It's somewhere that I feel the most satisfied, and if I'm in a studio making stuff, I'm absolutely just at peace. Like, I'm super happy. And I think I'm sort of just chasing that that sensation.
Still Pointless premieres at Sadler's Wells from the 12th to the 16th of May, followed by a UK tour from the 24th of May to the 11th of July. You can book tickets at balletboyz.com/book now. See you there.